Where are you from? You got a little bit of an accent.
A Mesa County deputy is disciplined for tipping off ICE agents after a traffic stop. He and his supervisors say they didn't realize they were violating a new state law. After cutting $1 billion from the budget, state lawmakers learn they're still $1 billion short.
I thought you had balanced the state's budget.
We had balanced the state budget.
A Colorado congressman says he was turned away from Aurora's ICE facility. Now he's suing for access. And Denver's betting big on a plan to get people back downtown. Maybe another $100 million will help? We'll see tonight on Next. A Mesa County deputy who passed information about a student from Brazil on to federal immigration agents will now be suspended. 3 weeks without pay. But he says he violated a state law that he didn't even know existed. Here's Angeline McCall.
In early June, a traffic stop on I-70 with 19-year-old Caroline Diaz-Gonçalves that shouldn't have ended in her ICE detainment. But Deputy Alexander Suing pulled her over, shared her driver's license and information in a group chat that included federal agents. The state is now suing Suing over Senate Bill 25-276.
I'm being accused of violating this law that I think it's apparent that I had no idea existed.
That's Suing from audio of this investigation, saying he never knew about the law, so he even shared her location with federal officers.
And I did not know that this was information I could not share with them, so I gave them the direction of the travel.
And while being questioned, Suing admitted this isn't his first time helping federal agents. Documents show Suing had actually handcuffed and assisted in detaining a man for immigration enforcement.
You personally handcuffed the male for him. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Turns out at least one other deputy, who is now also on leave, said he didn't know about the law either.
I truly thought what we were doing was condoned by our supervision and lawful.
Apparent confusion and misunderstanding, with the audio release showing this wasn't a one-time incident, that sharing personal information happened multiple times.
What about, have you ever watched HSI detain anybody else for immigration purposes?
Yeah.
How many do you think?
20. That's a guess.
One big problem with that justification is that they didn't know is that at least 2 emails went out department-wide saying not to cooperate with ICE. So they're saying they didn't know. Emails went out, though.
So the Mesa County Sheriff's Office wasn't the only sheriff's office in this group text, and now other departments are either facing investigations or making changes, or they want to see other departments facing investigations.
Yeah, there were local agencies, there were multiple federal officers with different agencies like HSI and DEA. Now, the sheriff in Mesa County says, why us? Why is our deputy being singled out when there were other officers in this chat, other agencies? If you're going to sue us, then sue everyone else too.
This is not the end of this story. Angeline McCall, appreciate it. Thank you. Colorado's budget is $1 billion short. This is the part that you might be saying, wait, didn't lawmakers just balance the last budget that was also $1 billion short? Yes, and now they're short another billion. Marshall Zellender explains.
The state of Colorado is again short on money, but not jokes.
And then we're also streaming live on all social media platforms, mostly MySpace.
Top lawmakers met at the Capitol today to hear from the budget teams on how much the state is short after Congress passed and President Trump signed H.R. 1, the big, beautiful bill.
We forecast that this will result in a $1.2 billion loss in revenue in the current fiscal year.
According to State Budget Director Mark Ferrandino, the state will see $1 billion fewer dollars in tax revenue because of changes in Washington that lower individual income tax payments and allow expanded tax deductions for corporations. For instance, corporations will be able to write off research and development expenses from the last 4 years.
They get to write that all off this year. And that's going to cost the state of Colorado roughly $200 to $300 million of lost revenue.
Colorado's piggy bank, the Reserve, has about $2.3 billion in it.
Using some of this and solving some of this through the Reserve is likely a responsible way to move forward. But solving it all through the Reserve would not make sense.
The Reserve is supposed to be if we hit a recession. It's our safety net if we hit a recession. It's not supposed to be because of poor planning.
Republican State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer thinks state Democrats have a spending problem that Washington's budget bill is simply enhancing.
It's not like we didn't know what Trump's promises were in his campaign.
As you might expect, the solution to being $1 billion short depends on your political party. Kirkmeyer, the Republican, thinks the state should simply cut.
Now, the governor has every ability to stop spending. He could do a hiring freeze right now, for example. He could tell departments, look, you need to look at, we've just started this fiscal year, you need to look at where you can make cuts specifically.
Ferrandino, a Democratic appointee, suggested some piggy bank money, perhaps some cuts to programs that avoided cuts earlier in the year, and doing what Congress and Trump did in reverse. Change state tax deductions for corporations to bring in more money.
Does it make sense to give tax credits to special interests?
If the state simply used the piggy bank to cover everything, a special legislative session would not be needed. However, there's also a state law that requires that reserve money, the piggy bank, to be replenished the next year before spending on anything else, healthcare, schools, everything. Any cuts to programs or tax policy changes to corporations requires bills to be drafted, debated, and passed and signed by the governor, which means, Mark, we're heading to a special session.
So I'm not going to sit up here and pretend to be a tax policy expert. But how is it that the state can just change tax policy on a whim?
Right, and I don't know that I have the full grasp of it, but what I believe is Colorado is one of few states that follows federal tax changes. And so what the state's considering is just because the federal government gave special tax deductions over here, the state would drop, but then they could pass a bill that says, actually, we're going to decouple and just keep it the way it was and not make the change the federal government is making. I believe that is what could happen.
Hey, if anybody can explain tax policy live on TV, it's you, Marshall. Marshall Zellender, appreciate it. Thank you. So switching from tax policy to the weather, could be a nasty night for storms. A slow-moving system means some flood risk for the area. Kathy Sabin joining us now. Kathy, how's it looking?
Hey, Mark. We have active weather west and south of downtown, but so far so good for the city. Even though we have dark clouds and plenty of available moisture for heavy flooding rainfall, haven't seen so much, not so much yet, so we'll see. We'll enjoy the cooler temperature trend. 70s in late July, well, that's not going to last, but there's a lot of water in the atmosphere as indicated by the current dew point numbers, so we think there's still going to be showers and storms going for several hours. The flash flood warnings are south of us. We've had hail in Monument, flash flooding in Colorado Springs, down toward the Sand Dunes National Park, a couple of tornado touchdowns outside of West Cliff. So yeah, there's some weather out there. We just haven't seen it right here in Denver. But the potential is there, and for those of you traveling south on I-25, just be prepared for some heavy rainfall as that flood watch remains in effect from Colorado Springs all the way down to the New Mexico line. And the storms still out there, still the potential to see some heavy downpours here in Denver between now and about 9 o'clock. We're going to do this all over again tomorrow. We'll start tomorrow morning in the 60s after a really comfortable evening, and then we're going to jump into the mid-80s for Friday, a little warmer and drier, back to sunshine and 90s. Oh, Mark, the summer heat is coming back with a vengeance Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But oh yeah, next week is the first week of August.
Week after week, your generosity helps nonprofits carry out important work across our state. Today, we have the opportunity to help create a fresh start for kids in foster care. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's Word of Thanks.
Something that I love about our Word of Thanks micro-giving is that it doesn't matter the time of year, doesn't matter what you and your family are up to or what me and my family are up to. We get together each week to give, to make a difference in Colorado. This week's Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign benefits Packs of Hope. They are an all-volunteer nonprofit based in the metro area, and what they do is they show love to kids who are entering the foster care system. Oftentimes, these kids are going into the system with nothing more than the clothes on their back, having to leave their family suddenly. Packs of Love make sure that there are pre-prepared backpacks waiting for them with clothing, toiletries, a book, a comfort item, just a little something to tell these kids that they are remembered, that they are cared for, and that they're gonna be okay. Packs of Love distributes more than 400 of these backpacks each month up and down the Front Range, from the Wyoming state line to Colorado Springs. This organization runs lean. As I said, all volunteers. So the dollars that we donate together are going to go a long way to creating more of these backpacks to go to more kids who are going into foster care in Colorado. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans and donate. I will never ask you to give to a cause that I don't support myself. So as always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. The backbone of our Word of Thanks microgiving is the Word of Thanks Fund. More than 5,000 of you have signed up to make a recurring monthly donation to sustain this giving throughout our state. And it has meant that recent microgiving campaigns have started with more than $30,000 in donations. You can use the same link or QR code to get there. Thank you.
Just ahead, Colorado Congressman Jason Crow is suing to get inside the ICE facility in Aurora. He joins us live next. And Denver Mayor Mike Johnston doesn't want people to just visit downtown. He wants people to live there. The city's spending big to make it happen. A dozen House Democrats are suing the Trump administration, accusing federal officers of cutting off their access to immigration detention facilities. It comes shortly after a Colorado congressman says that he tried to visit the ICE facility in Aurora and was turned away. Representative Jason Crow says he tried to make an unannounced visit to the Aurora Detention Center earlier this month for an oversight visit. He's made regular visits to the facility since 2019, and his office publishes those reports about the conditions online. Crow says those unannounced visits are protected by federal law, but the Department of Homeland Security has implemented their own policy requiring a week's notice for any congressional visits going forward. Now, Crow and another Colorado Democrat, Joe Neguse, are suing along with representatives from several other states. They say oversight of ICE facilities is a fundamental responsibility of Congress. ICE says the unannounced visits are operational security issues. Congressman Crow's joining us live in studio now. Congressman, thank you for being here. I want to start with this. When is the last time that you visited the Aurora facility, and was there anything concerning that you saw? Take us inside, and what did you see?
Yeah, this is something I've been doing since 2019. It was actually one of the first things that came to my office when I first was sworn in. I've done personally over 9 visits. We've done dozens of visits as a team. Last Congress was the last inspection that I conducted. This is a regular part of my job. Congressional oversight is essential under the Constitution. I do it at Buckley Space Force Base in Aurora. I do it at the Aurora VA Center, and I do it at the detention center as well, because members of Congress have to show up. They have to make sure that taxpayer dollars are being used the way they're supposed to be used, and we have to make sure that the law is being enforced.
The visit that started all of this was on a Sunday. You showed up unannounced on a weekend, and your critics will say that this is a political ploy to gain attention, that you knew that ICE wasn't going to let you in. Why show up on a weekend when there's a weekend staff when you've shown up plenty of other times on a weekday and they did let you in?
Well, I haven't been denied since 2019. I've done a number of unannounced visits. So, this is something we do regularly. And listen, oversight in government functions don't take banking hours, right? They don't just happen Monday to Friday. They happen on the weekends. They happen 24/7. And I've learned how to do this. I've learned how to do congressional oversight the right way. And one of the things that I've learned over the time I've been in office is that when you announce your visit as a member of Congress, it's amazing. You show up and things are clean. They smell like Lysol. There's new paint on the walls. You get the dog and pony show.
Do you think they're hiding stuff when you tell them that you're coming?
They might be, and that's the concern. And that's why we actually drafted a law that I helped push through that says very clearly under federal law, members of Congress have the right to conduct unannounced inspections with no limits. No limits by the time of day, no limits by the day of the week, to show up and to make sure that people are being treated humanely, with dignity, that our taxpayer dollars are being used right, and that our law is being followed. That is our constitutional obligation as a member of Congress.
You mentioned it, that you've been 9 times, I think you said. Your staff has been more than 70 since 2019. It's our understanding from your website that the vast majority of your oversight under President Biden was through electronic records requests. Why was it not pertinent to visit the ICE facility in Aurora under a Democratic president?
No, we did do visits under President Biden. In fact, we were critical of the facility under President Biden, and I led an effort with Democratic members of Congress to get President Biden to extend his prohibition on privately run for-profit detention centers to the immigration system. He issued an executive order to do that under the Bureau of Prisons, but he didn't do it under the immigration system. So we pushed back fiercely under that administration. In the times when we didn't do in-person inspections, that was because of COVID. We stopped for public health reasons at the request of the facility and out of public safety reasons, not doing it during that period, but we did it before, we did it after, and we've done it since.
The Trump administration has signaled that they want to open as many as 6 new detention facilities in Colorado. Knowing that you, your staff, other congressmen's staff, are some of the only people that are allowed inside these federal immigration detention centers, is it even possible to do oversight if these ICE detention facilities expand in our state?
It's not possible to do it if the administration is not following the law, which is why we filed the lawsuit. If they're simply going to say you're not allowed in, or you have to give us a 7-day notice for us to clean up our act and to hide things we don't want you to see, then we can't actually do effective oversight. That is the thrust of this lawsuit. And listen, Americans, Coloradans, they should want every member of Congress to do this. The president, under the Republican-controlled Congress, just tripled the budget of ICE, right? And they're opening up new detention centers across the country. Americans should want guarantees that they're going to follow the law, that what's being done is humanely treating these folks, and that due process is being followed. I have no problem with the federal government going and enforcing laws against violent criminals. If someone's a danger to our community, yes, go after them, get them off our streets. There's very little debate about that. But when you have widespread instances of people being snatched off street corners, or they're hanging outside of convenience stores and they look different, or they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and they're snatched up by federal officials in unmarked vans and given no due process and access to counsel, that is wrong and that is dangerous, and everybody should be very worried about it. So I'm going to keep doing my job. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do oversight, and I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that this president, any president, but particularly this one, is following the law.
And now you're taking him to court as well. Congressman Jason Crow, appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Downtown Denver is open for business. It's open for recreation. It's open for entertainment.
For as much money as Denver's spending downtown, well, it better be open for everything. How the city hopes another $100 million investment will pay off. Next. Denver's massive bet on revitalizing downtown better pay off, because today the city announced it's investing another $100 million in an attempt to bring people back to the area. This money will go towards projects like bringing businesses to the 16th Street Mall, improving public parks, and converting empty buildings into housing. More than a third of that money will go towards modifying 2 old office buildings to now apartments. They'll create more than 230 units, affordable housing focused, but it plays into the greater plan that we've heard before from the mayor about revitalizing downtown.
It's about moving Denver from a central business district to a central neighborhood district, which is it needs to be a neighborhood where folks live every day. They get up and go get coffee at 8 in the morning. They go to lunch. They go for a beer at 5 o'clock. We have 7 million square feet of empty office space in downtown. That's one problem to solve. We have a shortage of affordable housing across the city. That's another problem to solve. This allows us to solve both of those at the same time, which is...
So you might be saying the optics of this look terrible for the mayor announcing a massive investment the day after announcing that the city is laying off employees. But the money comes from separate places. These projects are funded by a $570 million development plan approved by voters last year to be invested in downtown Denver projects this year. We're back with your feedback next. We got a ton of feedback on our conversation with Congressman Jason Crow. And of course, because of TV, we can't read any of it. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. See you next time.